Good evening, everyone. Hello, it's Julia from the Paper and Ink Boutique, and I'm coming to you from my craft room at home. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been a couple of weeks. I didn't actually do a Monday Night Live last week, so thank you so much for your patience, but I'm back this week. And this week, I decided to maybe go back to the beginning. And I get a lot of questions at the store about inks. And so tonight I thought I would do a comparison between Distress inks and Distress Oxides because a lot of people don't know the difference between the two. And so I thought I would start with Distress inks. So let's start with that. Hi, everyone. I see lots of people joining. Hello, good to see you. Yes. It was a very busy day at the store because we are getting ready for the Great Canadian Scrapbook Carnival here in Calgary. And so it was very busy. We were busy getting packed up and getting orders ready. And so today was a very crazy day at the store, but I am here. I am here and I am prepared to talk about Distress inks. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my overhead camera. We're going to switch to the overhead camera, and then we're going to start talking about Distress inks. So first of all, let me swing my camera in here and let's get switched over to the overhead camera. Awesome. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so tonight, and I said I was prepared, and I actually have not got my Distress inks down. So let me grab those. Do I like Distress inks? Yes, I do. So I've got Oxides and I've got Distress inks. I have been a fan of the Distress inks and the Distress Oxides for a very long time. So what I'm going to do, let me just set a couple of things aside. Let's grab out, and if you're wondering how I'm storing these are the Chastity bag from Totally Tiffany. They come with these stickers so you can swatch your colors and you can see them. Now, before we had them, I actually did mark mine with the names using a label maker. So that's how I used to have them. But now I've got them in the Chastity bag. So you can see I've got all my purples together. I've got all my reds and pinks together. And then these have got a little jumbled up because I've been using them. So let me grab out, I'm going to grab out some colors that are the same in the inks. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I will try and answer them as best as I can. So I grabbed out Distress Oxide Kitsch Flamingo. Let me grab out Kitsch Flamingo in the ink. Because if we're going to compare inks to oxides, we might as well. Hey, Tammy Z, how you doing? We might as well compare apples to apples, right? So we're going to compare the same color of inks to oxides. So let's do that. Now, do I have all the colors in the inks and the oxides? You may be surprised to find out that I actually don't. And you know what? I was surprised to find that out too, because I thought I did. Wilted Violet, perfect. So I've got Kitsch Flamingo, Wilted Violet, and let's do, oh my gosh, so many colors and they're all gorgeous. I'm looking for Lumberjack Plaid, which I'm sure I have here in an oxide, but for some reason it is not jumping out at me, and I don't know why. So let's put the ink back. And now, how many of you are also ink fans, Distress ink fans? Do we have any other Distress ink fans out there? I love Distress inks. I have had Distress inks since Distress inks were a thing. And I've been collecting these colors faithfully. When Tim announces them, I get them. Sometimes I say, oh, no, I don't need any more. And yet I still get them. Yes, Wendy, I hear you, girl. Distress inks are my go-to as well. You know, I said I was organized, and obviously I'm not so organized. Okay, anyhow, let's just stick with the Wilted and the Kitsch Flamingo. I will come back and maybe grab another color in a little bit once we get going. Let me just put these away. Now, if you're looking on our store for the chastity bag, we are sold out right now, and they are on back order with the supplier. So we are trying to get them. Okay, so ink and oxide. What is the difference? Inks were the original. These are the original inks that Tim Holtz Ranger came out with. Love them, love them. And I got really good at blending inks. I was good. I was blending the inks just like Tim Holtz taught me. And I was using these, not these in particular, but I was using these with the replacement foams. Got really good at it. Got so good at it. And I love them. And then the oxides came out and they blew my mind. What is the difference? Okay, the ink is a dye ink. That's what it is. It's wonderful. It's water reactive. Great. You can do so many awesome techniques with them. What is the oxide and what makes it different? The oxide is what I like to call a hybrid ink. So it is a dye plus, and my mind just went blank. What is the word I'm trying to think of? It is the combination of a dye and a, holy Hannah, I was just thinking about it, pigment ink. So it's a dye pigment fusion. Now, what does the pigment do? The pigment ink, thanks, Kelly. I know I was struggling there for a second. The pigment ink lets the ink stay a little bit sticky for a while so you can put powdered embossing powder on it so it stays sticky. It also gives it this beautiful blending. You can blend colors absolutely beautiful. So when I blended these inks, I thought there is nothing better than a blended distress ink, like blending 3 colors together. Oh my gosh, love it. And then the oxides came out and I started experimenting and blending and I was sold. I was like, these are the best thing ever. And I love them. I love blending these. They blend together like soft, warm butter, and it is beautiful. Okay, now, if you're wondering, and again, I get this question a lot, how do I know which colors will blend together? Let me give you a hint. There is a creative person out there. Her name is Kay Werner, and she is on Pinterest. Well, she's all over social media, really. But I follow her Pinterest board called Distress Ink Blends and Distress Oxide Blends. And she will blend the colors like nobody's business. And so she's got these recipes. So you can go to Kay Werner, if you search Kay Werner, and that's Werner on Pinterest, and follow her Distress Ink and Distress Oxide blend boards, your life will be changed. I mean, seriously, she will blend the most interesting colors and get the most amazing blends ever. So when I'm struggling, hello, late to the party. Sorry, I don't know your name. It just says Facebook user. So hello. So if I'm struggling, if I'm working on a project, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need the perfect blend of blues and greens, and I am just struggling to figure out what that is. I will go to Kay Werner's Pinterest page, and I will just take a scroll through that, and I will find the most amazing blends. And 9 times out of 10, oh, hi, Sharon. Long time no see, Sharon. Just saw you at the store earlier. 9 times out of 10, I will find a beautiful blend color. And so if you struggle with the blend colors, you need to go follow Kay Werner on the Pinterest and definitely give her Distress Ink color boards a follow, because the woman is a genius when it comes to blending colors. Like, seriously, she is absolutely spectacular. I just thought of another color I wanted to get, so just give me a second. I'm just going to grab these down here and see if I can find my Distress Ink for Faded Jeans, which should be here somewhere. How come I can't find it? You know, it's one thing to be organized, and then there's another thing about trying to figure out how you organize. It is a process, people. Like, seriously, it is a process. I'm just going to pull out some of my favorite colors right now. Oh, there's so many gorgeous colors. I'm trying to remember how many colors there are. I think at last count there was maybe 71 colors of Distress ink. I don't know how far he's going to take it, but oh my gosh, so many great colors. Okay, so how do you blend? Let's just do basic. Do I have a preference between Distress ink and Distress Oxide? It depends on the application. If I'm doing a blend, let me just move these out of the way. I'm going to bring in a piece of paper. And if you're wondering what the paper I'm using, I am going to be using 140-pound Vicky Bouton Foundations paper, the white one. There we go. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to show you the benefits blending with the flat foam. There's also the dome foams, and that's what these look like. These are fairly new, with just in the last, I think, year. These are the dome foams, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And then there's also blending brushes, which, let's be real, when the blending brush came out, I was sold. And it's pretty much all I use. But there are other blending brushes. There are blending brushes from Altenew. You can see they've got these different ends on them. And this one is from Waffle Flower. This is a shader brush. So many different brushes. If you ask me how many brushes I have a lot of brushes. Detail blending brushes, big brushes, small brushes, these type of brushes. I have all the brushes. Now, if anyone's going to ask you what my favorite is, I love blending brushes. These are my go-to. Love them. And I use them in this size, and I use them in this size. Love it, and they're gorgeous. I'm just going to find, just give me 1 second. I want to find one other color here, because I love when I blend colors. I love blending in threes. So I am going to get another color here. Going to do that one. And then I need the oxide. Oh, here we are. So you got too many inks. So, you know, I've got 5 Cassidy bags filled with inks. And they're all amazing. Oh, here we are. Found it. There we go. Okay, let's get these put away. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, so blending. And I did, before COVID, I actually used to do demos at the demo bar on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And one of the ones I used to do is just blending, just ink blending. And it was lovely. We would have people come into the store all the time just doing blending. It was fabulous. Okay, so I'm going to use these inks right now for my ink blend. So oxides, we've got Kitsch Flamingo Carved Pumpkin, same colors on the ink side. And I'm going to show you. We are going to use one piece of paper, and I'm going to blend down. I have ink on my finger, and now I'm spreading it all over the place. I'm going to ink down both sides with both colors so you can see a side-by-side comparison of them. Let me grab... First of all, we're going to start with these. If you don't know what these are blending tools. And yes, we named them after my husband because he made them for me, and we sell them at the store. So blending tools. And the reason why I use these is I've dislocated both my thumbs. And I found using these, especially when I was blending a lot, my thumbs would just start to ache. So my husband made these for me, and they're fabulous. So if you have carpal tunnel, or if you have arthritis, we have heard from other people that they like these because it gives them a bigger surface to grab onto, and it just makes it easier to blend. Okay, so let's do, let me move these brushes out of the way for a second here. Okay, so let's start with our Distress inks. Distress inks. And this is how I used to blend way back. So you're just going to pick up your ink. Pick it up, you're just going to roll it on there. You can see I've got ink on my pad. And then I'm just going to start off the page and work onto the page. So I'm just going to start and working off. Now, the key to this is not working flat on your paper. It's you want to tip it this way. And the reason why is if you start flat, you're going to get this rounded edge. You're going to get a rounded edge, and it sometimes doesn't give you a good blend. I've been blending for so long, it's a little hard for me to do that because I know it's almost like, you know, riding a bike, you never forget. But if you were to ink this up a lot, let me tip it on this side. See, you can get a harsh line like so. Now, if you go to the dome foam, you can see the difference. This is flat and this is dome. So you don't have that hard edge like you do on these. Still blends beautifully. You do it exactly the same way. So you pick up your ink and then you just blend. Now, the key to ink blending, and because I've been doing this for so long, the key to ink blending is layers. I always say I blend one and then I go back and I do another blend over top. It's like this is your primer blend. You're just kind of coating that paper up and your second blend is going to go on even more beautiful the second time. Okay, so let me bring in, so that's Kitsch Flamingo ink. Now I'm going to bring it in with Carved Pumpkin. And again, I'm going to start with a flat, like I did. We're going to pick up our ink. We're going to start off the page. And remember, we're not going to keep it flat. We're going to tip it a little bit. So we're going to tip it and we're going to start at the edge and we're going to work our way in. So you can see I've started at opposite. I'm going to work together and then we're going to start blending when we get closer to the middle. Okay, now again, I'm going to use the rounded. Some people are old school and they love these and they're used to them and they're like, nope, I'm not going to change. I know how to blend my inks with these, and that's fine. Absolutely fine. Now the dome foam, let's come in there and let's start with this one. I'm going to bring that in. Now I will say I am a heavy-handed blender. Some people are light-handed. I'm very heavy-handed. And that's just my style. Okay, so you can see where our two colors are meeting. Okay, we're getting close. I'm going to come back with my Kitsch Flamingo. I'm going to pick up that color. I'm back to the pink one. I'm going to come here and we're going to just start working these together. So I'm going to work my pink into, I'm going to work the Kitsch Flamingo into the Carved Pumpkin. And then I'm going to, and the reason I keep flipping is because I'm left-handed. So I flip it because I like working this way. Now I'm going to take my Carved Pumpkin and we're going to work it in. And then I'm going to come back with my Kitsch Flamingo again. Sorry, got to switch. And I'm going to work into the Carved Pumpkin. Okay, so there you go. You can see that blend. There you go. And it's seamless. You cannot see a line there. So if you're blending inks, and especially if you're blending two inks, start one on each end, work them together, and then you're going to keep blending that center until you no longer see that line between the two of them. You're going to get that third color. Now, if you want to blend another color, and let me just see here. I'm going to grab down. Do you know what? We'll do a third color on the next one. I'm going to do my oxides on this side. So Carved Pumpkin. Let me switch it this way. Carved Pumpkin Kitsch Flamingo. Now, I hear from a lot of people they get very frustrated. They get frustrated with the ink blending because they only do one layer and they like, it doesn't look good. And I always tell them, go back and do a second and third blend, and you'll see them as they come together more seamlessly. Okay. So that is our inks. Let me flip it around. Now we're going to do the oxides exact same way. Now I'm going to use different brushes just because these have been in ink. I want to use different brushes for oxides, and I'm actually going to come and I'm going to use my blender brushes for these. So let's start with the Kitsch Flamingo Oxide. Now, the big difference between these two is the inks tend to be more translucent and the oxides tend to be a little bit more opaque. So that is one of the major differences. Okay, so now we're going to start with Kitsch Flamingo. I'm going to work into one side. And then let's do our Carved Pumpkin. Let me find my orange brush here. Just give me a second while I turn my thing around and find it. And I must have cleaned that brush. So let's pick this one up. Flipping that baby around. I can use the same color. Megan, here, let me just, there we go. Let's put Megan's question on. Why do you not use the same brush for the same color, regardless of whether oxide or ink? Great question. I will tell you that sometimes I do because I'm kind of a lazy crafter. But I don't, if I'm going from ink into oxide, I do. But if I don't like taking my oxide and putting it into my ink. I don't like contaminating my pads that way. However, if I don't have any clean brushes, what I will do in between inks and oxide is I'll take a clean piece of paper towel and I will take my brush and I will just brush it on the paper towel until no more ink comes off. And then I feel fine about going back and forth between inks and oxides. Okay. So if you are going between inks and oxides, you may want to clean off your brush prior to going. Now, like I said, I am more comfortable going from ink into oxide than I am from oxide into ink because I don't want to get that pigment ink on my oxide pad. I don't want to contaminate that way. But sometimes I go the other way and I'm not too worried about it. But if I'm going in between, like if I wanted to go from this oxide to this ink, I would make sure I get all of that oxide ink off my brush before I went onto my ink pad. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let me do that. Okay, so I'm going to pick up that oxide. And already you can see how rich those colors are. Let me come in with my, oops, I just did the wrong one. Turned it one turn too many. Let's go back to our Kitsch Flamingo. And now I'm going to blend from Kitsch Flamingo into that orange. And now let's do this. Okay. So we've got oxides and inks. So the inks are on this side, Carved Pumpkin Kitsch Flamingo. And on this side, Carved Pumpkin Kitsch Flamingo. So this is on white paper. So you can see, I don't know if it's showing up, but you can see the white paper underneath the ink on the ink side. On the oxide side, it's a much deeper color. It's much richer. Now I'm just looking as I'm holding it up to the light. I'm not liking that blend so much. So I'm actually going to come in. I'm not going to add any more ink. I'm just going to come in and I'm going to, let me pick that one up again. Let's start here. There we go. Let me hold that up to the light. Oh, I like that blend better. Now, these are still a little bit wet as well, which is why you're seeing that line is because it's still wet. Let me just give it a quick dry. Okay. So we've got ink on this side. Let me turn it this way. Ink on this side, oxide on this side. So you can see, there's my divider line, how much richer the two colors are. So oxide, much more opaque, and the inks much more translucent, which means you can see through them. Now, a lot of people ask me, can you use Distress ink and Distress Oxide together? Yes, you can. Just going to wipe up my surface here. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you some other techniques we can do with this, but I'm just going to set it aside right there for now. Let me grab another piece of paper. Here we go. So what I'm going to do here for this one is I'm actually going to blend my background with the ink, and then we're going to stamp with the oxide. And you can do it that way because the oxide is more opaque, so it'll sit on top of the Distress ink. So let me just find my right brush here. So I've got Kit Flamingo. Now this is where people, when they do one blend, they're like, oh, I don't like it. It doesn't look very good. But I always tell people it's more than one blend. You've got to do more than one blend. If you want a richer color, it's almost like painting your walls. You wouldn't paint your walls one coat of paint, would you? No, you would probably do at least 2 coats of paint. So I always tell people you're going to need probably at least 2 coats of ink. So if you don't like it, keep blending. And once you get to a point where you like it, you're good to go. Now let me, let's do this one. Distress ink. So I'm just going to do this again. Now another question I get is, how often do I re-ink my ink pads? A lot. Probably at least once a month, but I use them a lot. Now, if you don't use yours as much as I do, you may not need to re-ink them as much as I do. But that is something that you need to figure out. And I'm using the wrong one. But that is something that you need to discover in your crafting. How often do you use your Distress inks, Distress Oxides, and how often do you need to re-ink them? Okay, so let me grab, I'm just going to grab my Misty here, and then I'm going to do, give me a second. I just want to cover up the other side here. I don't want to stamp on my clean side. So I'm actually just going to put down, some paper. Just hold it because I just want to stamp on this side. Where did my favorite stamp go? Here we are. Okay, so let me put that on there. And let me stamp. I'm going to put oxide. Oops, I'm going on the wrong side of the stamp. This side. Oxide on the top. So the Kit Flamingo, and I'm going to do Carved Pumpkin on the bottom half. Let's give that a stamp. Perfect. Just going to peel this off. And there you go. So same color. I know, my new script stamp. I'll explain the script stamp and my excitement over this. Okay, let me just give this a dry. Okay, so stamped with oxide over top of the ink. So the oxide sits on top of that ink. So you can see that there. It's much more opaque. You can definitely see your stamping. So same color, Kitchamingo oxide on top of Kitchamingo ink, carved pumpkin oxide on top of carved pumpkin ink. Gorgeous effect. Simple, gorgeous. Now, before we move on, I'll explain that comment, my new script stamp. And it's not really new. This is just a new one to replace an old one. And let me just clean that up. So this stamp, this is a Wendy Vecchi. There we are. Wendy Vecchi Stampers Anonymous stamp. And it's just called script stamp. And this is the exact same stamp. I couldn't even tell you how old this one it is. This was my first script stamp, and I've probably had it at least 15 years. And it has been used and abused, and you can see the shape that it is in. And let me just say, you never forget your first. This was my first script stamp, and I haven't used it in a long time. But you don't throw away your first script stamp. And I have kept this, and I've loved it, and I've kept it on a shelf, and I look at it, and it's like, oh, hello, beautiful. And I love it. Well, lo and behold, to my surprise, I found the exact same stamp still available at one of our distributors. Did I squeal with joy? Yes, I did. I squealed with joy. I found out how many they had in stock, and I bought all of them. So they're available at the store. So I'm so excited that I get to use my favorite script stamp again, because it is beautiful and it is my most favorite one. And will I throw this one out? No, I'm going to keep this one because it was my first. And you don't throw away your first. You let it go gently into retirement, and you keep it on a high shelf, and you look at it and you're like, hello, script stamp, you are my first. This one is beautiful, but it's not my first. So although I will enjoy using it, it's not that one. Okay, so anyhow, I got a little off track. Okay, so there you can see you've got inks over oxides. Okay, now maybe you're asking yourself, what about oxides over the inks? And maybe you're thinking, well, what about the other way? Can you stamp Distress inks over Distress oxides? Yes, you can. And let me show you what that looks like. I'll tell you, it's my favorite. I love. Oh, that is good. I may have to put this. Somebody said here, I'm going to show this comment. You have to make your first one into some mixed media wall decor piece. I probably should. I will put it in a shadow box, and I will decorate it up, and it will be my first. So that's a great idea. I'll have to do that. That's funny. Okay. So here we are. And I still see that that's wet a little bit. I'm going to try and not screw that side up. Okay, so now on this side, I'm going to do Distress Oxide, and then we're going to stamp over it with Distress ink, just so you can see the difference. So let's do Carved Pumpkin, and this is the oxide. Carved Pumpkin oxide. Okay. So I'm just going to start off and work towards the center. Now, when I do this, I ink this up, and I will actually go onto my paper. And some people are a little confused on how to use the brushes. This is how I hold it. I hold the head of the brush in my hand. A lot of people will hold it back there, and you'll get a very light blend. Like I said, I'm a heavy-handed brush blender, so I always hold it up here. But, you need to find your comfort spot with it. Okay, let's bring in the oxide. Or I keep saying oxide. Kitchamingo. Now, because this ink is still wet, I'm just going to use a piece of paper towel just to hold it, because if I don't, you're going to see my fingerprints in it. So that's why I'm using the paper towel to hold it in place. Okay, so again, we're blending. And there we go. So now we've got our oxide blend this side. I'm going to give this a quick dry and then we're going to stamp on it. So remember I said the oxides have a pigment ink in it. That means the pigment ink keeps this a little bit sticky for a while. So it's really important to heat set it. Okay, let me bring my Misty back in here. Oop. Drop my mask. Let's put that on there to mask off that side. And if you're wondering what I'm using, this is Eclipse masking tape. We sell it at the store. I love it. There we go. There are other masking tapes out there. This is just the one that I like. Okay. Going to put my stamp down. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to take our ink. Going to ink the top part with the Kitsch Flamingo. Ah, shoot, I did it the wrong way. You know, Julia, get your poop in a group. Just trying to see how I even have this upside down. Oh, my word. Oh, let's try this again. Okay, we're going to do Kitsch Flamingo at the top. You're going to do Carved Pumpkin, and both of these are inks, not oxides, because we're going to stamp ink over oxide this time. Just going to stamp the Kitsch Flamingo again. I don't think I inked it up good enough. Let me do that one more time. Because I'm using my Misty, I can do that. Okay, let's take it out. I'm going to take the mask off. Get that off of there. So there you go. You can see the difference. So this is now ink over oxide. This is oxide over ink. Gives you a very different look. This is much more chalky background with a much clearer ink over top. This is a clear ink on the background with a chalky ink over top. So the Distress Oxides, when dry, do give you a chalky look and a chalky feel, where the inks give you a much more cleaner look. So a lot of people don't like the oxides, and that's fine. The oxides aren't for everyone. I personally like them, but yeah. There you go. So you can see the difference there where you're stamping inks over oxides. Do I need to bring that light? I've got a second light here that I've got turned away from me. There you go. So you can see this is inks with oxides over top. This is oxide with ink stamped on top. Same colors of both. And I love them. So you can see the chalky look of that one there. Gorgeous. Oh, I love Distress inks. They make me so happy. Okay, let me put that aside. Let's move this out of the way. Okay. So I've shown you how to blend a background. Now, maybe you're wondering, how do you blend through a stamp? Or not stamp, blend through a stencil. So let me grab a stencil. There we go. Let's keep with the whole theme of script. And let's blend through a stencil. Let's turn it the right way. There we go. This time I'm actually going to use, let's do something completely different. I'm going to use Distress Ink Ground Espresso. Distress Ink Ground Espresso. And let me grab a new brush. Somewhere I've got a brown that I use. Here it is. It's a small one. And if you have any questions, I can see your comments. So go ahead and ask them and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. So this is Ground Espresso Distress Ink. And I'm doing this on the oxide side. We're going to do it over top of both colors. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the Distress Ink over the Distress Ink, just so you can see the difference. And I tell a lot of people, like, you just need to find the inks and the ink combos that you like. And I know I said, I don't know, 71, 72, whatever, however many colors just Distress Inks are. I don't have all of them. I'm very close to having all of them, but I don't have all of them. But I always tell people, if you're new to Distress Inks, to look at getting colors that you like, colors that you are going to use the most of. Don't think you need to get all 70 colors or 71 colors, whatever it is, right off the bat. Get colors in a palette that you like, colors that you are going to use the most of. There we go. So that is Distress Ink Ground Espresso. And it's on this side, which is over top of the oxides underneath. And this is the inks over top. So and I don't know if you can see it on here, but on this side, you get a much more chalky feel. And the reason why you do is because this is a translucent ink over top of an oxide ink. So it's going to give you a much more matte, chalky look. And on this side, you're going to get a much more crisper, cleaner look. Oh, hi, Bonnie. It will be on the Facebook page, but it kind of gets lost in the feed. So I do encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. If you go and search the Paper and Ink Boutique on YouTube, I have a playlist called Monday Night Live, and you can go back and watch all 40 episodes on there. It's much easier to find on YouTube than it will be on the Facebook page. But thanks for watching. I'm glad you're here with us. So here you go. And I know it's probably a little bit hard to see on the camera, but this side, because my bottom colors were the oxides and I put a Distress Ink on top, which is a little bit more translucent, it will give you a much more chalky feel. And on this side, you will get a much more cleaner, crisp look of the ink over top of the ink. I hope that makes sense. I'm giving you a lot of information here, but yeah, there you go. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah, I always tell people, like, if you're not confident in your ink blending, what you need to do is you need to get out. It doesn't even have to be this big. This is 6x6, and I only use it because it shows up really good on camera. But maybe you've got some like little pieces of paper like this. Maybe just do some swatches. Just practice your ink blending. And the more you practice, the better you get at it. And it's like we were told as kids, practice makes perfect, right? And this is no different. Okay, so I've talked about a lot about ink blending, a lot, right? What else can you do with Distress Inks? Well, let me just wipe this up. Let's start with a nice clean surface here. There we go. Okay, I'm just doing some smushing on my pad, on my work surface. So I've got kitchen window. And yeah, sure. Let's come in here with the Distress Oxide. Both inks. Okay, I'm still working with the same colors. Now, you may not have these colors, and that's fine. You use the colors that you have. Take my my trusty spray bottle here. I'm going to add a little bit of water. There we go. You can see it beading up on my work surface. I'm going to take my piece of paper. We're going to smush. We're going to dip. Now, because these colors are beside each other on the color wheel, I'm not going to get mud. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Let's give this a dry. Okay, so you can see there that my carved pumpkin kind of overpowered my kitsch flamingo. See, you can see a little bit of the kitsch flamingo down there, but it really did overpower it. So what I'm going to do is, I can't waste the ink, right? So I'm just going to, let's just pick up some of that. And then I'm going to wipe the rest of this up, give this a dry, and then we're going to do some kitsch flamingo oxide on top of this. And I'm going to show you what's going to happen. Okay, so let me take the kitsch flamingo oxide. I'm going to smoosh that on here. Again, let's add our little bit of water just as it starts to beat up, and then I'm going to lay that on there. Okay, and already before I even start drying, you can see how the oxide, because it's got the pigment ink in it, is going to sit. It's going to sit on top of the ink. And because I'm impatient, I'm just going to take a little piece of paper towel and just kind of dab at those wet areas that sit on top. But there you go. So you can see how the oxide will sit on top because of the pigment ink. It makes it more opaque. So before, my kitsch flamingo distress ink kind of got lost. The carved pumpkin kind of overpowered it, and it just kind of disappeared. You can see a little bit of it in one corner, but it kind of disappeared. So I used my Distress Oxide kitsch flamingo, and you can see how well that shows up because it is more opaque than the Distress ink. And though that is what is a good thing about combining inks and oxides. Look how gorgeous that is. Oh my goodness. So I'm just going to, because I've got all this gorgeous ink sitting here, let's just go ahead and pick up a bit more. Love it. It is so, so nice. And that is just, oh, I mean, it's just delightful. It just this brings me such joy. This does. It's just, and you know, you've heard me say it before when I do these. Sometimes if I'm not feeling very crafty to finish a project, sometimes I just sit down and make backgrounds like this, because these will make really great backgrounds in my cards. I will also do die cuts. I'll die cut out words out of this. I will stamp on these. They make great, if you die cut flowers out of these. Oh my gosh. So sometimes if I'm just not feeling crafty, I will just sit down and just get out my inks and start making backgrounds. And it's just enough to give me this oomph to be like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. This is also really good if you do struggle with color combinations. Grab out little, scrap pieces of paper that you have here. Work on color combinations, whether you're doing an ink blend like this or you're doing your dip and smush like this, and just practice with color combinations. Because if you've got 70 colors of inks, find how they work out together and discover new color combinations. And sometimes, and I will not lie to you, sometimes I will make a color combination and I will kind of squeal a little bit because I'm so happy with myself. So yeah, I mean, just look at that. I mean, come on, that is gorgeous. Okay. Now, as much as I love pink and oranges, which I do, don't get me wrong, love the pink and oranges, Let me just clean up my work surface. Let's bring in another one of my favorite combinations is browns and blues. I love these. Browns and blues just, again, bring me such joy. Okay, so what if you do a dip and a smoosh together with an ink and an oxide? What happens? Well, let me show you. I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is Ground Espresso Distress ink. And now I'm going to use Uncharted Mariner. No, I'm not. I'm going to use Faded Jeans Distress Oxide. Yes, right? I know, Pinterest. Oh, you know, Pinterest is just such a huge rabbit hole of craftiness. I can get lost in Pinterest for hours. Oxide on this side, ink on this side. Let's take our piece of paper. Oh. Oh my goodness. And yeah, we're going to blend the colors. Hello, that's gorgeous. Now, sometimes before I get it completely dry, I'll come in with my water. You could spray it directly. Now, this is a mist bottle. So I'm going to do is I'm going to spray a little in my hand. There we go. And now I'm just going to like drop splatters. I just want some big splatters. I don't want a mist. Okay. So as I pick up the water, you're going to start seeing those spots of where I lifted the ink off, and it gives you this really cool kind of splatter look to it. Okay, so before I dry it, I am going to, let's keep dipping because, you know, don't waste all that gorgeous ink. I mean, come on, it's like stunning. Ooh, just going to clean that up just for a second. Ooh, love it. Now I'm keeping a piece of paper towel here in my hand. I am using the Vicky Bouton's foundation paper. It's 140-pound mixed media paper, and it's my favorite. Now I am going to take this because that is a big splotch of water sitting here. So I'm just going to dip and lift it off. Some of these I may want to leave these darker ones, or I can tap it and lift it off. And there you go there, where you can see that. It's not completely dry. I can still see some wet spaces, but look at how beautiful that is. So remember, I use the Faded Jeans Oxide. You can see it sitting on top here because that is the one that has the pigment. And then my Distress ink, Ground Espresso, has faded in the background. But look at how beautifully they blend. Isn't that stunning? That is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, many other things you can do. Splatters. You know, if you've taken any of my classes, you know I can't end a project without a splatter. So again, I'm going to just smush some, which one am I using here? Uncharted Mariner Distress Oxide. And I'm going to grab, this is just a fan brush. Just going to add some water to my ink. I'm going to pick up some of that ink and I'm going to do some splatters. Light splatters, dark splatters. Oh my goodness, look at that. Splatters off to the side, splatters straight down. I mean, come on. That is gorgeous. So if I don't take my paper towel and sop up some of these wet areas, they are going to dry dark like that and you're going to see them. I actually don't want to lift this one off. This one is my favorite. As soon as I get it dry, I'm going to hold it up to the camera so you can see it. And splattering, there's no perfect science to it. Sometimes you'll do it and you'll be like, ooh, that was too much splatter. Or, oh, that was not enough splatter. It's, you can add to it if you don't splatter enough. Now, okay, so there's that dark one that I dried there. Love it. Now, if you get a splatter like that and it's a little bit too dark, don't be afraid to take your clean paper towel and dab it and lift it off. So you can see how I lifted that one off and how much lighter it was, or later it was where it was wet, where I lifted it off. And then I'm going to do the same with these in the middle. I'm just going to take a clean part of my paper towel and lift them off. So before they're dry, you can just take your paper towel and lift them off. And so now I've got dark splatter, light splatter, dark splatter, light and dark. But look how gorgeous that is. I mean, stunning. Can we all agree? Gorgeous. Normally I would not waste that ink, but I do have a couple more things to show you. So let me just, okay, so let me put that in water. Now, maybe you're thinking, can I blend over this now? Absolutely, you can blend over this. I'm going to take my ground espresso because I've just got lighter brown in here, but I want to add a little bit. That was the wrong one. That was my one for my blue. So guess what I'm doing after my Facebook Live? I'm going to go and clean all my brushes tonight. Now, if you're wondering, how do you clean your brushes? Very easily, especially these. These are bristles. You can see, look at all those tiny bristles, and they're gorgeous. How do you clean these? I personally use scrubby soap. And for those of you who know the Paper and Ink Boutique, and you know me, I use scrubby soap. Scrubby soap is a scrub that is inside of a citrusy soap, and it's amazing. I wish I had one here to show you, but I don't. But if you're on our online store, you pull up scrubby soap and they're amazing. But if you don't have scrubby soap, what you can do is you can take some hand soap in your hand, put your brush in there, get it all nice and lathery, lather it up really good, and then rinse it really good under the water. And then to dry it is I take a piece of paper towel and I will put my brush bristle side down to dry. And what happens is the paper towel, oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Glenn brought me some scrubby soap. When you put your brush down on the paper towel will actually draw out the water and any ink that's left in there. So that's how I dry them, is I put them face down on a clean towel, a clean piece of paper towel, and just let them dry overnight. Super easy to clean. So this is scrubby soap. This one has been used, but this is what it looks like. So you can see it's got the scrubbiness and then it's got the soap on the other side. This one has been used, so it's not full. And it smells delicious. This one is lemon. Yeah, this is lemon. It smells so good. We also have orange and lemon lime, and they're all delicious. We use these all over our house. We use them in our kitchen. We use them after we've done gardening. My husband will use them after he's been out in the garage and he has like oil and stuff on his hands. This cleans up everything. And I especially love it on my kitchen cabinets, because sometimes your kitchen cabinets can kind of get that little, that yuck, greasy kind of feel to it. This, a game changer. How much are they? Bonnie, that is a great question. Glenn, if you're listening, I want to say they're $10.95 each. Glenn, if you're listening, or somebody from the store, I don't know who else is watching, if you can confirm that, but they are amazing. And I will let you in on something else. And maybe this is just me, but in the warmer months here in Canada, I spend a lot of time in sandals, and thank you, $10.95, and they are the best. They're amazing. Sometimes your feet can get a little, gross because you're in sandals and you're in, you're not wearing shoes and socks. I will put one of these in my shower, and when I have a shower before I go to bed at night, this will clean your feet and it moisturizes and it makes your feet soft and lovely and gorgeous. So just saying, do I use this for everything? Pretty much for everything. Kitchen cabinets, my hands, I will use it tonight because I've got inky stuff on my hands. Cleans it up beautifully. And my brushes. So what I do is I will run my brush under water. I will go on this side with the soap. I'll pick up a little bit of soap. And then I come to the scrubby side and I scrub, scrub, scrub. And then I rinse it under clean water. And then I lay it down on my paper towel to dry overnight. And it is really good. We get this. We bring it up from Florida. And this stuff is amazing. Yeah, Janetta, you're with me, right? Use it for everything. I think at any one time we have at least 4 of them going in our house. Yeah. And it's amazing. Okay, where was I? Ink blending on this. Right. And I had a my brown brush. So I will take my ground espresso. I'm going to pick up some ink with my brush. And I'm going to start off my page and I'm going to come in. I won't do all of it. I just wanted to show you that, yeah, you can ink blend over top of the smushing. So you can see that there. Beautiful, right? Stains out of clothes. Janetta, thank you so much for saying that because I actually had some gesso on my jeans yesterday because why wouldn't I? I usually get gesso on everything. I had gesso on my jeans yesterday and I took it in the bathroom and I took my scrubby soap, took the gesso right out of my jeans, saved the day. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now I'm going to come in. So that was a Distress ink. I'm going to come in this corner and do a Distress Oxide. So you can see, and this shows it really well, the coverage you get with an oxide. So that is an oxide. And see how it's really opaque. It's almost covering up the background. Not quite, but it is. And this side is a Distress ink. And you can see how much more translucent it is than the oxide, right? So much different. So when I use oxides and inks, I use the color depending on the technique that I'm doing. So, and I have really just started scratching the surface of the joy I get out of these inks. Now, I did do, and I'm sorry, I don't remember which episode it was. I did a Monday Night Live using the embossing glazes. So embossing glazes, if you're unaware, and I will maybe do this on an upcoming episode. Ooh, here we are. These are the embossing glazes. Again, it's another member of the Distress line. Here we go. Let me pull one out. I think that's Wilted Violet. Here we go. So Distress Oxide, Distress embossing glazes. Let's get our oxides. So like I said, this has a pigment ink in it, which makes it stay a little bit sticky, which means if you were to blend, if you were to stamp, if you were to put an oxide through a stencil, before you dry it, sprinkle it with the embossing glaze and dry it. You can do it with the same color. The embossing glaze is exactly what it is. It's a glaze, which means it goes translucent. So whatever color you have underneath will show through the color you have here. So I'm holding up Lost Shadow, which is this gray color, and the oxide. So if you were to put this over top of that, you're going to get a completely different color. So again, if I was to put, what's this one? Crackling Campfire over this one, completely different color. So if you have embossing glazes, make sure you're using them with your oxides because they are a game changer. They are really fantastic. So what I might do is maybe next week is I will come back and we'll take our Distress Oxide and Distress Ink discussion one step further, and we'll add another member of the Distress Ink family, the embossing glazes, which I haven't used a whole lot lately. So maybe I will break these out and we'll do some fun techniques with the embossing glazes and the other Distress. And I will show you what makes them all so beautiful together. So if you can't tell, yes, I am a fan of all things Distress. Distress spray stains, Distress Oxide sprays. I love them all. And that's probably a discussion for another time because I could seriously talk about this for hours, but I don't want to keep you because it's already, 7:30, which I don't want to make myself sound old, but it's getting very close to my bedtime. Okay, let me just, I'm going to switch to my overhead cam. There we are. Welcome back. So I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I need to turn that light away from my face. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. I've had a wonderful discussion on my love of Distress inks and Distress Oxides. And like I said, I have just barely just nicked the surface of the wonderful things you can accomplish with these inks. So if you already have inks or oxides, I encourage you, get out and play with them, make your own swatches. And I did that way back when I started collecting these inks. And I should see if I can find it. I had tags on a key ring and I would make color swatches, blends. I don't use it so much more, but at the beginning, when I was just getting to know them and to use them, I would make these color swatch tags. And like I said, if you struggle with your color combinations, do go to Pinterest and search K Werner, and it's just the letter K Werner, Werner, and her Distress ink recipe boards are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I've been following her for years and I still go back. And it's like, especially when they've added a new color to the Distress family, it's like, what is Kay going to do? What is Christina Werner going to do this time? What colors is she going to combine them with? And she always blows me away with her color combinations. So I encourage you to go give Kay Werner, Kwerner, a follow on Pinterest. Follow her Distress ink recipe board. She's got one for oxides, one for inks. You will not be disappointed. Get out, play with your inks, play with color combinations. If you make mud, no big deal. Yeah. Throw it out, start over. We've all made mud. I still to this day will make mud just because, sometimes I'm feeling daring and I think I can defy the laws of color theory, which I can't. But sometimes I just think I can, but I can't. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be back next week, which is the 17th. I will be back for another Monday Night Live. We'll continue our discussion on the Distress family. We'll add in the embossing glazes, still using inks and oxides. It's going to be fun. And then I'm going to be gone. I'm going out of town for a week. So that last week of April, I'm not going to be here, but then we're going to be back in May. And I am hoping that someone from my creative team, is anyone watching? I need someone from my creative team to step up and do a Monday Night Live surprise for me in May. There you go. And like I told, and I'm sorry, I have forgotten her name already. If you're looking for previous episodes of Monday Night Live, the best and the easiest place to find them is on our YouTube channel. So head on over to YouTube, search the Paper and Ink Boutique, and then you'll see our playlists. And on one of the playlists is called Monday Night Live. This is episode 40. Can you believe it? We've got something special planned for episode 50, which should fall, I think, the end of June, beginning of July. We got something special planned for that. So you're going to want to stay tuned for episode 50 of Monday Night Live Surprise. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening. And if you're going to be at the Calgary Carnival this weekend, I hope to see you there. We got lots of fun things planned for our booth.